Hello everybody. Today I wanted to talk about the topic of breaking into the tech industry in 2025 and how I would go about it if I started out from scratch again. We're going to touch on subjects like where do you start, what languages should you be learning, and is AI going to make you or me redundant as software engineers? Before we get into it, this is of course my own experiences and what I've talked about and with colleagues and experts out there. So this is just what I've gathered. Be sure to collect more information around from other people to make yourself as informed as possible before you make any decisions of where you want to go with your life in terms of the career choices that you make. So first of all, the industry. Let's address the elephant in the room. That's AI. Is it going to render all technology jobs redundant, especially software engineers? And honestly, no. I'm confident that it won't. And every expert who is either a data scientist or a researcher that I've talked to with this has told me that it's not going to happen. At least not the way we think it will. Now, this is not a video on AI and its impact on jobs in our society, so that's a completely different video. But I highly encourage you to educate yourself on this subject. There are tons of great videos and also great courses out there where you can learn not just the basics of what AI is and how it impacts us, but also how to use it and even build your own AI solutions. So now that we have addressed that, it is still very much relevant, the tech industry, and if not even more relevant to get into it as well today. Because as these technological innovations and new solutions come out, our society gets more and more dependent on technology. And as that happens, the need for knowledgeable experts within this field will only grow. And not just that, but systems and processes for making technology safe for our society at large will be needed, and that need is going to grow. Security and regulation are huge subjects today, more than ever, and is a great starting point if you want to get into this industry. But as I said, the need for good technologists will only grow with time, and I think we all as humans will need to become better technologists in general as it becomes more and more an integral part of our daily lives. So to me, the job security is definitely there for people in tech, but the kinds of jobs that will be more or less secure, of course, vary a lot because they're not just software engineers in the tech industry. There are much more soft skill focused works like managers and project managers and so on. Engineers, both hardware and software, are definitely going to be needed as we keep developing this technology, and so will data scientists for sure. Feels like ethics, regulation, and security will only grow more and more as technology becomes a bigger part of our lives with things like AI and other incredibly smart technologies. So where should you actually get started? And I think this is a very broad question, and it really depends both on your interests and previous experiences and what your current life situation is. If you're a teenager who's still in high school, for example, and you're really good with computers, or maybe you just have an interest in programming and tech, you won't have nearly the same prerequisites as someone who's worked in a completely different industry for the past 10 years and has a house and kids. So depending on your life situation, different paths and ways to get into the industry will suit you differently. That's not something that I can really say in a video like this, and this is so generically curated to so many people that it's hard for me to articulate different solutions for you. So you have to look into whether if you can study for this kind of field, either college or polytechnic like I did, or if you can study in your own free time with online courses and YouTube, for example. With that said, having a degree, while valuable in itself, is not a necessity in this industry in general. You can get very far by simply showing your work and your skills. What the degree does offer you is more options in terms of job openings, and it does give you a broad foundation to stand on, especially if you study something like computer science. But, like I said, you can definitely break into the industry without a specific degree. But once you've found a few paths that you can take to get in, whether that is a degree, self-studies, or a boot camp, you'll need to find a niche. Or specifically what kind of a job in the tech industry you're looking for. The most popular ones are of course software engineer and data scientist. But of course there are a ton of other roles in this industry like product owner, data and business analysts, service technicians, site reliability engineers. And since I don't have the time to get into all these different roles and what differentiates them, I'm going to focus much more on software engineer, as that is what I am from the beginning. So within software engineering, there's a lot of different disciplines and areas of focus. You have the classic split between front-end and back-end engineers. Front-end engineering is the work of building the interface that the user is exposed to and interfaces with, or interacts with. This includes not only front-end development with web development, as you've probably heard before, but also native development for mobile phones or tablets, for devices like iOS and Android and iPadOS. But you can also build desktop apps as well for macOS and Windows. Backend engineers focus on building services and integrations that run on servers, for example. That is services that the customer and/or the users does use, but does not interact with directly. That could be things like payments, identification, search, product and content management services, and so on. So if you like user interface and design, like using really well-designed apps and websites, then maybe frontend is a great starting point for you. And if you find data fascinating and the idea of working with servers and systems intriguing, try backend development. But before you choose any specific field to be the focus for your next 3 to 5 years of work, start by learning the basics of programming. This is going to be the foundation that you stand on for the foreseeable future of your career. So learning the basics can be done in pretty much any language there is. So choose one that is easier to get started with is my tip. Something like Python, JavaScript, or Ruby, for example. It's a lot more approachable for somebody who's a beginner. Or if you want to get into a more niche approach directly, like if you know you want to build iPhone apps, then pick up Swift and learn the basics through Swift. Now, the elephant in the room, like I said, AI, is that it's important because you need to use it, but you won't let AI do everything. It's quite common to hear the saying like, it won't be AI that replaces you as a software engineer, but it's the software engineer who uses AI to his or her advantage. And I do tend to agree with this, as AI is a tool for us to simplify our work and make us more productive in certain aspects. But it's important to know that you are what you are doing. AI has in some ways become sort of the new Stack Overflow on steroids, which for those of you who've worked in the industry who've not worked in the industry, Stack Overflow is kind of like the Google for us. So you used to, before, Google, how do you build this? How do you solve this problem? And you'd end up with the Stack Overflow answer and just copy and just paste it in and you're done. That was of course an example of a bad software engineer, because you're still supposed to know what you're doing in the code you're writing. And I think the case is still very much like that today. You still need to know what you're doing, know what the AI is doing for you. So it's very important to keep that in mind, as learning the basics and knowing what you're doing is really important. So yeah, it doesn't really matter if you use Stack Overflow or ChatGPT to solve your problems. The whole point of a technologist as a role in society becoming more important has nothing to do with the job demand for simply just writing code or solving problems just quickly. It's because we will need people who truly understand how the technology works, how all the different products, services, and systems that we build and depend on work. And if we use AI as some software engineers use Stack Overflow to simply copy code and get the job done without knowing what we're doing, then you can imagine the kind of issues we'll have with security and our services not working as expected. So learning the fundamentals and the theory behind everything you do while learning to be productive using AI is what really will make you successful, I think, in the career of tech. So I hope this answers the question somewhat of if you should break into the tech industry in the year of 2025, and if so, how you could go about it. If you're an experienced software engineer or data scientist, I would love to hear if you have any other thoughts on how you would break into tech or how you did it. So please be sure to leave a comment below with that. And thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next one.